side of Adam's blade as he slices in, dices forward. Finn.
Wait,
oh,
what?
okay.
Adam just gets a solo kill onto Finn.
Rogue call it off. Magnet Storm forward. Nuke looking for the seismic shove, and Rogue were in.
Get fight. I've combined 4. Just stand. Nice. Good job. Not too soon. I'm blocked. We can end top by the come top, we end top. I'm not kidding. Yeah, we end. We end. We have okay, yeah.
Welcome back to the LEC. We have Labrov joining us for the post-game interview. Congratulations on playoffs with that you have secured. It was a clean game against Rogue. So talk us through your emotions right now because life's good.
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm pretty happy with the game you showed. Last week it was a bit shaky, and our mindset going into this week, we wanted to show like a more clean BDS. And we're working for that for tomorrow as well.
More Team BDS. That's exactly what we noticed as well from the draft particularly. Before we head into game, we were saying, you know, Sheo's going on different junglers. We're not just seeing the Sejuani. Adam is changing his champion pool. And then we go into the draft and we see a Sejuani. So what's going on there?
I don't want to get like too much into details about our draft, our planning, obviously, but I feel like this split or like this year we can play so many things in draft, and we have showed so far. So I'm like pretty confident, and I'm just looking forward to going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, it's nice seeing you guys being able to play a lot of different stuff as well. Like you said, you wanted to become more clean this week. What could you reveal? Like one of the things you've been working on. What were you trying to change from last week to this one in scrims?
I would say probably our like mid games. I feel like even last game, for example, even though we were kind of stopping the game, there were some situations that we were a bit like too stressed. And for example, at around 21 minutes, I feel like our setup was really good, and I just had to wait a bit more, but I didn't, and then I ended up dying, you know, and stuff like this. I feel like if we like fix like this small like mistakes in games like this, I feel like we will be a way more like threatening team.
I mean, the threat of BDS is very much there, and we've seen you guys evolve over the last couple of splits, so that's something to really be proud of. You're talking about the game particularly and at certain moments where you're getting a little lost. I want to actually commend you on the macro, because while Rogue was trying to force things on top lane, you guys are taking tier 2 bot.
Yeah, I mean, this game, I feel like we just had the better of them. Basically, I feel like it was honestly hard for them with their draft and like from falling behind. So yeah, I think like as long as we like were using our brains and just like not like running it down, I feel like this game would be like almost impossible to lose. And I'm glad we almost had a clean game.
One game that you did lose, however, so far is against SK particularly, and we're going to be heading into SK going up against Heretics. Both of these teams have really great bot lanes. I want to hear from your experience as a player going up against the SK bot lane, how that was for you, and how did that impact your approach to the game as a support?
I feel like my approach like didn't change that much. Like I feel like I play the same way, like whoever I face, but maybe it affected like slightly a bit the approach in draft, etc. Because I feel like SK bot had some really good games on like Luon Ami that not many people played in LEC so far, and as support as well. So yeah, outside of draft, it didn't affect me too much, but they're obviously like pretty good, and they have surprised me so far. And I just want to like play them again in playoffs, hopefully, and win.
I mean, they've surprised everyone, right? They've even surprised you.
Yeah, I think that's really it. Like, we didn't know what to expect from these two players, but they've joined SK and clearly have leveled them up in all phases of the game. They're really strong in the early bot lane, laning phase. They're very good in mid game. You rarely see any of them making mistakes in team fights. And I think they took a team that had good moments, but was kind of shaky, and made them really stable and solid.
And then we're looking at the Heretics bot lane. That's also a bot lane that you've also played here in the LEC. I want to touch upon them particularly because, again, Flakked is an incredible AD carry himself. But it feels like when we're looking at Heretics, it's maybe a little bit more slow in their gameplay.
Yeah, I have to agree. It also feels like when we play Heretics, I personally feel that they don't have that much like early game power. And I think like they're a good like macro team or like late game team, but usually they fall behind like in the early game from my like point of view. So I think if they work on that, I think they can be an even better team for playoffs.
That is something to look forward to from the side of Heretics, though, this time around, because they are going up against SK. And when we're looking at SK, something you highlighted is them being a very well-rounded bot lane throughout every stage of the game.
Yeah, I think, you know, bot lane is definitely going to be one area that we'll be targeting in this game and that we should look at, because I think Flakked and Trymbi have had moments where they look really solid, but they've also had games where they look kind of poor as a duo. And they will need to bring their 8 game in order to keep up with Rahel and Luon, who are just consistently performing. And, you know, again, it's not just one phase of the game, it's all of them. They're always on point.
It's so scary when you're going up against a bot lane that I think mainly not knowing what to expect from them, but now we've seen them weak time and time again on the LEC. Well, it's week 3, it's not that many games realistically, but when you are looking at this SK bot lane, is there any flaws that you think teams could be taking advantage of?
Maybe one that I feel like, maybe for example, that if they don't play like an aggressive or like winning bot lane matchup, then they don't have a lead. Maybe they don't like have that much like power in the game, but I mean it's kind of normal as well, to be honest. Like usually when you're ahead, you get in control of the game. Mm-hmm. But other than that, so far from seeing the games, I don't see like something like really bad.
Scary.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think it really comes down to challenging them in the early game and see how they react to playing from behind, especially with 2 Koreans coming in. There could be, you know, some language flaws and all that. And I think if you really pressure them and they have to react immediately and on the fly instead of always having the ball in their hands, so to speak, it might be a little bit trickier. But again, even then, like, who knows? Maybe they're also solid in those cases.
But that's even scarier to look at because you're looking at Heretics, which is a team that we just highlighted is slower in the early game. And then you say, well, if you want to deal with SK bot lane, you have to be early. You have to be strong in the early game. So it's like, which team is going to be able to come out on top? Or I guess we're going to have to find out as we're ready to head into the game with our casters, Medi and Vedi.
That's us!
That's us. Hello. We're getting ready for game 2, SK versus Heretics. Another situation where, why are you smiling that aggressively?
I know, it felt like in the moment that's what it's called for. Trying to channel my inner Jake, you know, hysterical.
So
Every
SK,
now and again, we'll just throw something random out at you.
Just random, yeah. SK, very similar to, I hear game sounds for some reason.
That's fine.
SK can lock playoffs, that's the word I'm looking for.
That they can.
Now, Heretics are not in the same position that Rogue are in, just because they have 2 wins. But it's not that much better.
One whole win better.
It is one whole win better, which puts your chances of locking in playoffs that much higher, which is kind of crazy because we have a lot of teams at like 1 and 4. This split, we have a very clear top of the pack, a clear bottom of the pack, and Heretics is the team that's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Admittedly, though, their schedule isn't really that easy moving forward. Today, they're going up against SK, which is going to be a difficult opponent. And as we move into the draft, let's look at some of the tendencies. SK, when they're on the red side, have a tendency to ban away the Tristana. They also often ban away Nautilus, 2 champions that they really don't like dealing with. They recognize Wunder's Skarner, and they don't want to have the opportunity to give him that. Along with that, Rumble is something that Heretics consistently ban in every single game, regardless of what side they're on, and it looks like they're going to maintain that trend. The question is for SK, will they look to get rid of the Tristana, or are they happy to let that through? Are they happy to give that over to Zwyroo, who honestly hasn't actually played it once so far this split? Talia and Corki are his only champions so far.
I saw Corki kind of fall down in priority, at least in round 1 of today. We'll see if it continues that way. You were talking about Heretics' schedule. This week, I think, is where they need to pick up 4 wins. They need to get to that mark, right? They have SK today and then Rogue tomorrow. And if you can get to 4 wins, you're guaranteed at least a tiebreaker for playoffs. Next week, they have Fnatic and G2.
Exactly.
Which is a lot trickier. For SK, expectations are that they should be able to make it to 5. Today, obviously, they play against Heretics. Tomorrow, MDK. Next week, Carmine Core. And then they round it off with Vitality, probably the hardest on paper match they have remaining. So with the Corki banned away by SK, looks like Zwyroo is going to go towards that Tristana.
Looks like it. So I wonder if SK were caught off guard or if they said we're willing to take that gamble and see how things pan out so far. We'll see what they have as an answer to the Tristana. Looks like Tank's returning to the LEC. We were really excited about AP junglers. I wonder when that means enchanters are coming back in bot lane, Medic, because usually when it's tank junglers, it's enchanter bot lanes and it's bruisers top.
Yep.
I feel like we're going back to the meta we had before MSI. I was excited that the game was changing a lot, and then pros have said, Nope.
So there's less double Hail of Blades bot lanes, which I quite
True,
like, because that was one of the
true.
reasons we saw a lot of lane swaps, was to get out of that. Zeri, Lulu, Zeri, Milio, Zeri, Janna, Zeri, Karma, all of these are options for you.
Can we just talk about, this is Rahel's 6th unique champion across 6 games. SK have played a different champion in every game, unless you're Isma, who's just been put on tanks. He's played Sejuani, Maokai, and Poppy so far this split, but SK are trying to keep their champion pool very diverse as the Kai'Sa gets locked in for Flakked. Looks like Heretics are trying to show us something a little different coming into this week. We've seen how potent Kai'Sa can be when you build just a little bit of AP. You don't have to build a lot, you know, just a little bit. And you have crazy damage with your, if you can land the Ws, that is. So I am becoming more and more of a fan of the pick. I think Zeri's not a champion that can punish it super hard either. You're probably going to lose in terms of push in the early laning phase, which is fine. But Kai'Sa Nautilus, a great bot lane pairing that I think should be able to weather any pressure that Zeri brings to the bot lane.
Trymbi going back to his tried and true Nautilus, has played that 3 times. There's only one on it once so far for Heretics. SK look towards mid. LeBlanc here into a couple of mid bans would be very powerful, but instead it is the Rell. And again, Luon playing his 6th unique champion for SK. So they continue to show us different iterations on a relatively similar style.
So the question is, are they playing Fearless without telling everyone else? But they're just treating
Isma hasn't heard that they're doing it. So every meeting he misses for some reason.
Yes. He's like, I can still play Sejuani, right? Like, yeah, but we can't, okay? So
I would like a Sejuani Senna from them, because they haven't played Senna yet.
They haven't.
We saw a Sejuani Senna bot, you know?
Well, let's see if they can keep this cooking. We've, again, 5 unique champions from Nisqy, 5 unique champions from Irrelevant. We'll see what they come up with. Maokai going to be banned away from the side of SK, with the Jax being banned away from Heretics. So are they looking... Well, immediately my instinct always says, like, K'Sante is something that Heretics is thinking about. Maybe also, if you want something more aggressive, Camille is also a possibility. SK are banging out some of the traditional tanky junglers that pair up nicely with Tristana, especially double AD carries, but the Ivan and the Maokai taken away. So are Heretics looking at that blind pick K'Sante top, depending on what they ban next?
With the Jax already taken away, we'll see if they continue to pinch Irrelevant's pool. Rumble still a possibility as well. Haven't seen... Oh, it's already banned out, first phase. Not a possibility, guys, because it's already removed. There's the Camille. That's kind of, K'Sante is where Wunder is looking. I like the Kai'Sa as well, because it means you don't have to go for an AP jungler. You already have enough mixed damage on your team, because you say Kai'Sa does quite a bit of magic damage as the game goes on. SK likely going to blind their... Well, not blind, just pick their mid laner. Yeah. Because they already know it's Tristana. Oh, no, Nisqy.
No, it's
you can't pick
unique,
Azir.
Nisqy. You can't pick Azir.
Right, maybe he's decided Fearless isn't the way to go anymore.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Well, he's bucked the trend, unfortunately. SK gonna go back to old form, I guess, with having already played 1 game of Azir this split. Obviously, Nisqy, very well known for his Azir. Very long-range, front-to-back traditional comp coming out from SK, nothing too complicated. Heretics, we talked about the K'Sante already. I expect that to be locked in. The question is, what do they want to round out jungle with? Jankos has been very quiet this split. Last split, I felt like that he had a strong impact in the regular season. We were talking a lot about how he was making a lot happen. He was very impressive. But I haven't really felt that impact this split. Really, I felt that Heretics struggle to have that sense of playmaking or agency that we've seen from them in the past, which is surprising when you have Trymbi and Jankos on a team. 2 very heavy playmaking and initiating players that have a lot of confidence in their independence and ability to make these plays. So Karthus going to be the lock-in, so very similar to what Rogue drafted earlier. Their engage is very low. You have the Nautilus to act as a form of starting off these fights.
Their front to back is very strong, though.
It certainly is.
Especially with double AD carries. Karthus is Jankos' 6th unique champion as well this split. Since not going to be picked here. Gnar for Irrelevant instead in the top lane. Irrelevant also a player having a very quiet split. I think in winter and spring, Irrelevant was like the glue that held this team together. He was old reliable. You always knew he was going to have a good performance over a weekend. This split, has been a little bit more understated, but perhaps that's because in the light of Rahel and Luon, everything else is a little bit more shadowy.
I mean, I definitely would say, like, I remember back in week 1, his Rumble, even though he was getting camped in lane, like, his ults were really impactful.
True.
And, like, I've seen some of the plays that he made. I think his Skarner also had some great plays, too. So I would definitely say that his impact is, you know, on his Renekton game against Fnatic last week, you know, he was up like 50 CS at like 12 minutes, right? So his impact is definitely more
Still
quiet.
there, it's just quiet.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely feel like that Rahel and Luon have just kind of stolen away the spotlight because I don't think that you get to 4-1 with the strength of our top teams, especially with SK's schedule, right? They had to go against a lot of strong teams to get to this point. So I definitely think that they have more to show us. I think the biggest criticism for them has been their mid game. But we'll see how that translates today. Possibility for them to lock a spot in playoffs today if they can get a win against Heretics, who've drafted themselves a little bit more scaling, a little bit more team fighting. Let's see how things pan out.
Let's get onto, in fact, the Rift for our second game of the day. Heretics looking for those 3 wins. 4 obviously better for them. Will guarantee them at least a tiebreaker for playoffs. Lots of pings coming around the mid push as we make our way onto Summoner's Rift once again, Vedius. And we'll see how these 2 teams can battle it out. Are you a master of the Rift? Do you never miss a chance to game? Well, Santander is here to reward you. Head over to santandergaming.com to win weekly and monthly rewards like Hextech chest skins. And this week's code is RIFT15.
Very nice.
It's the time at which you can surrender.
Thank you for that. Great.
Been playing a lot of solo queue.
I've been preserving my mental, you know, in anticipation of some recent releases.
There's a new Lost Ark patch, right?
That's true, there was. But also, yeah, Elden Ring. So, you know, sometimes solo queue can bring my mood down. So I've been avoiding it. But I hope that your experience has been good, Medic.
8-2 the other day.
Oh.
Yeah, back into Diamond 1. And now I'm going away for 3 weeks, so I'll decay back to Diamond 3 and never make it back to Masters.
That's fine.
Ooh, invade. Are they going to avoid this vision? Oh.
Yes, they are, Medic.
That's so good from Heretics.
Sneaky.
Isma doesn't know. He's unsuspecting. And now he'll be met by Wunder. Trymbi coming in as well. Flakked with the flank. Isma flashes.
And that's going to be a lot of damage done to Isma. Losing his flash, losing these camps. But this is a great way to utilize the Karthus.
They're swapping, Vedi.
Yes,
They're
they are.
swapping,
They're swapping.
Vedi. I love a good swap.
And so you get Wunder out of what can be a challenging matchup. We've seen K'Sante work very well in these swap situations, but also no camps for Isma. Wunder acting as a guardian to these camps to protect them for Jankos. Luon makes his way up towards mid.
Early jump in there by Luon. Zwyroo obviously does still have the rocket jump to get out. Oh no, he didn't level at level 2. Luon could have held that for a lot longer then, perhaps thinking the rocket jump was a possibility for Zwyroo.
Uh-oh. Can you get out in time, Relevant? No, you cannot. Here comes the dive.
Can he survive? Trymbi tanks it, hooks him in. The answer's no, and it was answered very quickly.
That was a clean early game execution from Heretics. I absolutely love what we're seeing right now. The swap into top side, the invade on the enemy jungle, and just the advantages that they're gaining in this early game are fantastic. Now, Riot wasn't happy with the swaps.
Yeah.
They did enact a deterrent, and you'll see that a plate hasn't dropped yet. And that's because they buffed the resistances, but also the amount of first blood tower gold is much greater. So losing that first tower comes at a greater cost, and Rahel has already secured 2 plates for himself. So in terms of gold, Rahel is definitely not going to be too upset, but because they got that kill, Flakked is still in a great position. They're now swapped back into the 2 versus 2. The advantage has been gained. The enemy jungle has been put behind. They can pass back towards the bot side, and while they will be behind in terms of XP just a little bit, they're in a great position. So great level 1 plan from Heretics. Love what they're doing. Let's see if they can maintain this advantage.
And importantly as well for Jankos, it just helps him hyperfarm, right? If you're taking an extra 3 camps out of the top side and only losing 1 in bot, well, guess what? That's a positive of 2 camps. They were able to force Isma out after he took the Razor Beaks away, so he's still only sitting on 3 camps. Now goes for a Scuttle Crab. Jankos will get 2 red buffs and a blue buff alongside those extra jungle monsters. Just makes it so much quicker for him to get to that level 6. You can see, if you look at those little pink bars, next to the champion portraits. There's one here and then there's one under this thing that I can't actually get under. Vedi, you can do that for me.
No, I can't.
Well, we can't show the pink bars. Anyway, pink bar next to Jankos shows that he's almost level 5, whereas the pink bar next to Isma's portrait shows he's only just going past level 3.5.
Yeah, so no bueno for Isma is the TLDR. But the big question is, can they maintain this type of advantage? Because my criticism for Heretics this split has been that they are alarmingly passive. I think back to the very first game against Giant X, where with the lead that they had, they still kind of just reacted to everything that Giant X did. And this is why I'm so happy to see them execute this early game plan, because it is a great sign of proactivity, leveraging the strengths of your composition and just playing to the Karthus specifically. I think it's a great game plan. And we've talked about how Jankos as a player has been known to be impactful just throughout this year. And so hopefully this opportunity, this split, and this game, we can see a bit of a turnaround for him. So far, he's in a great spot on the Karthus, a very healthy lead he has over his opponent. Now he's moving into the bot side jungle. He has the push, thanks to his bot lane. Mid has also been pushed in. They're getting a bit of a trade in the bot lane 2v2.
Trymbi looking for the engage. Rahel and Luon trying to trade back onto him. Jankos coming across. Luon ignited, but he'll be fine for now, forced under the tower. Jankos actually wasn't able to steal away any of those camps, and the SK bot lane doing a good job of surviving, where they have been the key focus for SK this split. You can see high KDA's massive kill participation as well for Luon. I think Rahel at 813 damage a minute. He crested at 1,000 the last time he played Kai'Sa. We'll see if Flakked can answer with a Kai'Sa performance of his own this game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the conversation around this bot lane coming over to the LEC, and it was not met with optimism, right? And I think that a lot of pressure was on the shoulders of these players, but SK knew that they needed to make a change, and what a change they have been. The presence has definitely been felt in so many of their games. In losing situations, they've been able to find great plays, and SK is definitely an exciting team to watch, but now they find themselves in an early game deficit. A deficit they found themselves against BDS, but then a great Baron play from Luon was able to turn the game around. Let's see if they can turn the momentum back in their favor this time around. Small advantage gain on the top lane. Even though Nisqy has been losing out in the trades in mid, he's still doing very well in terms of farm. The only goal differences really exist. Oh, hang on.
Jankos, I think he smited the wrong grub there, meaning that Isma was able to come in and smite one for himself. Trymbi's on his way up here, as is Flakked. Zwyroo, the first one to be caught out, as Luon looks for the engage. Trymbi going in towards the top side as well. Irrelevant's almost got the Mega Gnar built up. Isma only level 4, dashing away, but now SK begin to collapse. The hook goes in, and the Gnar comes down, and Jankos falls alongside it. Isma just trying to get another one of these grubs. We'll get one towards the back of it. Zwyroo forced away. Rahel joins the fray, and Flakked will fall. It's disaster for Team Heretics.
The objective setup was all over the place from Heretics, and SK punish effectively. Wunder TP'd bot as Rahel was walking up towards the grubs. Jankos was soloing that objective as SK was able to easily walk in and contest. The momentum shift has been massive. You kind of look at the maps and look, the TP down towards the bot side of the map. Trymbi and Flakked are making their way, but Zwyroo is taking a poor trade in the mid lane. The fact that Jankos wasn't able to smite a grub also didn't work out in his favor. Isma's forced back, and this fight looks okay. Zwyroo's a little low, but then this play from Irrelevant gets the two-man ultimate into the wall. Flakked's forced to flash early. They think with Jankos still around, thanks to his passive, maybe they can still win this fight, but then Rahel arrives, and he ends up getting himself a double kill. So SK with a fantastic punish. They end up getting all of the grubs. No dragon has been lost, and what was a great early game plan from Heretics has now been torn apart by SK.
If they just wait a couple more moments before starting up the grubs, you have Trymbi and Flakked on their way. They were opening up mid from their base. It just felt uncoordinated from Heretics and well punished, as you say, by SK. And now the gold lead that had built up for Flakked in the bot lane has been equalized and surpassed. 500 the lead for Rahel. The only blue number we see on the bottom of your scoreboards is Jankos, and he's got an 80 gold lead. It's nothing monumental for Team Heretics, and every other lane has begun to fall behind.
It's yeah, an unfortunate situation for Heretics to find themselves in, because I was just talking about how, like, great start, let's see how they can keep this momentum going, and then on the very first objective it falls apart. The good news for Heretics is they were able to get a dragon So they can potentially start working towards that win condition. Nisqy.
Zwyroo has the flash, but Irrelevant is here, building up that Mega Gnar. Zwyroo will flash away. And Irrelevant turns Mega and just wallops a minion.
Yeah, there was a bit of a patience game there from Nisqy. He dived in, didn't ultimate immediately. Maybe he wanted to try and catch Zwyroo on the buffer, but then Zwyroo held his nerve. The problem is, by holding his nerve, he bought enough time for Irrelevant to actually arrive, so then he ended up having to flash anyway. So, nice play from SK in the mid lane. SK turned their attention to bot lane.
They know that Jankos is here. He's baiting in the bush, now forced to stay around. Stunned up with the permafrost. Trymbi's on his way across. Rahel. Ultra Mega Super Laser through the wall. Ultra Shock Laser is the name of it. Extendo Beam. I should just go with what Atlas calls it. It keeps Jankos around for the moment.
I was going to say you can just call it the Zap Zap, and then I remember the Jinx W is actually called Zap.
Yep. Yep. I think all of Jinx's abilities have an exclamation mark at the end. Is that right?
Really?
There's a champion that has an exclamation mark at the end of their abilities, and I think it's Jinx, because she gets excited, right? But
Gnar's ult is just Gnar.
Yeah. If you can pronounce the extra R's the next time Irrelevant goes in, that would be great. Nisqy on the wrong side of this trade, kind of to be expected. Tristana obviously has those autos, but he trades back well as the Zwyroo tries to walk out.
Infernal Dragon spawning in about 45 seconds. I always... Oh, hang on a second. Trymbi. You should be fine, right? Yeah. Rahel level 8, though. This Zeri already in a very strong spot. A full level over Flakked. You have to imagine part of that comes back to what happened in the early levels. I guess Rahel picking up 2 kills also helps. But 100 CS to 90. Zeri in a good spot. And the scaling element is always going to contribute to a strong late game for SK. And again, their composition, very front to back, very straightforward. We didn't mention it in the draft, but Irrelevant. Gnar is one of his favorite champions. It's one of his career all-time most played. And you got to saw a taste of that in the previous team fight with his really nice Gnar ultimate, but he's just very good at managing the Gnar bar ahead of fights. It's the grubs going to be the priority. We've been seeing this more and more from teams. The ones that have control in the early game often prioritize controlling the grubs. And it wouldn't surprise me if Heretics cross map, but Nisqy is around.
And you actually saw Isma walked away from the grubs and left them for Irrelevant as Luon dashes in and Jankos falls first. Answered with a kill onto Nisqy. Lightning Crash, flash forward, Glacial Prison hits, and Trymbi goes down as well. SK find 2, and they get 5 grubs to boot. Wunder was able to keep Irrelevant away from taking the 6.
Now for SK controlling every objective on the map. They're just telling Heretics, we're not going to cross map, we're just going to fight you. You go to grubs, we'll be there to match you. You go to dragon, we'll be there to match you. Ends up being for a 1-for-2 in favor of SK as they kill both Jankos and Trymbi, but they get the dragon and they can start stacking their own. SK wanting to be a little bit more aggressive here in this game. A great level 1 plan from Heretics, but the advantage that they've gained has largely disappeared. And look at the mid lane gap. It was Nisqy to die in the last fight, but he's got nearly a 1k gold lead over Zwyroo.
Yeah, it's just matching the push really well as well. Now that he has the Nash's Tooth, it becomes so much easier for him to clear out these waves. Jankos stepping forward, but there's nothing really doing for him across here as they clear out the control ward. I wonder where SK will send Rahel. It looks like Nisqy's going to stay towards the bottom side. Rahel is going to go mid, answered by Flakked, who has a static shift. There's one apiece for the AD carries. Irrelevant using the mites to his advantage, as he will get another plate for SK. And with it, about a 2,000 gold lead for them after a struggle of a start, after a great invade by Heretics. SK very much in control of the game now, Vedi.
Oh, certainly. They've moved their Zeri over towards mid to help guarantee that control. Kai'Sa not quite in a position to contest right now. But this then gives you control over the river. As Nisqy makes his way back out into lane, you can see him pushing out the bot wave. Irrelevant has to go and catch that wave up top. No real objective for them to play for outside of, well, there's still a grub that they can grab if they want before it disappears. But the Herald will be the next major objective that's spawning, well, in about 30 seconds.
I'm actually surprised they haven't grabbed this grub just because it's 6, right? Like, getting 6 grubs does give you extra mites on the spawn. Trymbi doing something he used to be really well known for, like shadowing a side lane, looking to see if someone thinks they're only in a 1v1 and then engaging, but SK paying respects to the fact he's off the map, and Nisqy just backing away. Now the grubs will despawn and will go towards the Rift Herald instead. Drake up in 3 minutes time, so still a while before that's really an objective for either team.
Sweets. enter into a neutral mid game. Small advantage for SK. You can see the plates on the top of your screen. It's actually Heretics to just start this one off. Okay, they have the push in top. They have all 5 people here.
That's the important thing.
SK's game plan has been to just fight. So here we go. Heretics 50%. They should be able to secure this.
Irrelevant doesn't have any Mega Gnar bar either. Isma looking for the smite bite. It's secured by Flakked. The engage going down as Rahel's locked up with a depth charge, and this might be a great fight for Heretics. But Nisqy finds them all. He slides in, he pulls a faker. And SK find 5. Nisqy, the Leandri's tick will be enough. Jankos takes him down from beyond the grave.
That was an Emperor's Shuffle as he finds all 5 members of Heretics. A fight that was going to start off so well. Wunder with a great initiation, gets a fantastic knockback. Ends up going so one-sided towards SK off the back of a fantastic Nisqy play. Keep your eyes on Wunder at the start of this fight. He has the Q3 channeled, gets that initial knocker, dives into the backline. Oh, we don't have time. Irrelevant getting collapsed on.
X flash forward by Trymbi. Irrelevant will flash the wall, then dash across, and
I hope we can get the replay though, because I do want to look back, if nothing else, at that Nisqy play one more time.
I will say, importantly, no one picked up the Herald either. The eye was left on the ground, so
then,
even though Heretics were able to take the objective, they didn't get the bonus out of it, and now Luon is lying in wait.
What's the plan here?
Hey, never doubt a support when he sees the angle ready.
I don't know if this is an angle. Good, we're going to get the replay one more time. Nice, I like this. Thank you so much, production team. So again, the initiation comes through. They get that pick onto the front line. It's looking great. But then look at this shuffle. Oh, absolutely fantastic. The combo is immaculate. Nisqy does have to lose his life thanks to the Requiem burning him down. But incredible play from Nisqy. SK firmly in control of this game.
Relevant trying to survive in the top side, as we saw a couple of members.
Other one. There we go.
There we go. We saw Wunder and Zwyroo pushing in for this tower. They will get the first tower for themselves, third tower in total of the game, as Nisqy now pushes in bot those 5 mites, giving the extra 2 damage burn to the tower. Drake up in 40 seconds time, and bot side control very much in SK's favor.
Dragon spawning in about 30 seconds. Isma, does he have an angle here?
I think he does. I think they might have an angle, Betty.
Someone's been doing their mathematics, and that looked like an easy 90 degrees to me.
Why was it a right? Well, I guess it was a right angle and not a wrong angle. You're right,
yeah, it was a right angle.
I was just being obtuse, wasn't I? We're scaling this problem together.
Oh, the math nerds loving us right now.
It's great,
everyone else like, what are they talking about?
I think even the math nerds have had enough of it.
All right, Dragon going to be started off by SK. They secure the mid tower, convert this into a drag, and that's going to be 2 for them. But SK showcasing why they are sitting at the top of the standings. They did fall short to Fnatic last week, but SK, a single change into the bot lane, and look at them. An incredible change, and I think the crucial thing is they found themselves at a deficit in the early game, but they found a way back into the game in a way that I like. They fought their way back in.
Yeah.
You know, they just said, you know what, you're not allowed to do this. Your setup is poor, it's incorrect, you've made a mistake, we're just going to punish you for it. And then the individuals have stepped up, which I think really has been the big story for SK. When they have been in danger, individuals have stepped up. And while I don't think Nisqy necessarily needed to step up, I think in this game you can see that he's really had a massive impact. And so SK's been a joy to watch so far in Summer.
They really have. They stopped the sort of inevitable decline that we had seen from them through winter, through spring, something we saw from them last year as well. For Heretics, on the other hand, I think sometimes we continue to see a degree of lack of proactivity. Like when the initial game plan fails, things are kind of more reactionary, right? It's like, oh, maybe we can find a pick, maybe we can find something here or there. They did start up the Herald, but they didn't do their due diligence at setting up a vision around it.
I definitely think that they just weren't prepared for SK's aggression, because the Dragon start, for example, it would make sense for them to cross-map with the Grubs, right? Then like SK would prioritize the top tower, and then they would go for the bot one, and you just kind of be like a gentleman's agreement. And then SK just said, no, we'll just fight you. We'll just leave someone to take the Grubs, and it's cool. We got 5. We'll just fight you. And I definitely think that that's something that you don't usually see in Europe. Like, you just think back to last game and it was just cross-mapping, right? It was just
last game did have Rogue in it, so
I mean, it's true, but my point
is
is that like it's very common, especially in Europe, that you'll just make those exchanges, which is why I like what I'm seeing from SK, showcasing that, you know what, we have an advantage. Oh, nice there from Flakked, stealing away the blue buff. But yeah, I just like that fact that they know the position that they're in, they know they can fight, and they don't sit there and stop to think about it, they just go for it. And ultimately, they then out-execute against Heretics. So overall, love what I'm seeing from them so far. Heretics continuing to try and farm with what they can. There's always the scaling element that you can talk about, but it's kind of very similar to what we saw from Rogue in the previous game, right? Where you're kind of hoping for a few good fights to be able to turn the game around. But overall, SK in a very commanding position.
Also, scaling into Azir plus Zeri, it feels
easy.
like very difficult, right? You do have more damage as the game goes on. You've got Karthus and double AD carries, and you have the long range of Flakked on that Kai'Sa, but you're really looking at 4 items before you begin to out DPS SK, and with a 6,000 gold lead, SK are in prime position to take this game by the scruff of the neck. 2.5 minutes on the next Drake. It's 2-1 in favor of SK in terms of dragons and Ocean Soul. The option.
Also say that if you are a player at home that just got auto-filled in jungle, Sejuani, Warmog's Locket can never go wrong.
True.
You will always have value. Even if you're down like 20 CS, you're few levels behind, you will always have an impact in the game if you're just playing Sejuani in the jungle, Warmog's Locket.
Yeah.
It's a great animation, relatively cheap overall too, and you just a big solo Q-tip.
Yeah, I still remember we went to a Rift Rivals once, and there was like a show match, right, between it was the European, some players and casters and like NA people, and I was auto-filled.
Oh, hang on.
Oh,
hook.
Knock up with the depth charge. Luon should be able to walk away from this one. Nisqy putting some extra damage down, but yeah, I was auto-filled to jungle because someone else wanted to play support, as Trymbi might look for another hook, doesn't do it. And I talked to Kobe the night before, and I said, hey, Kobe, is there any chance you can just give me Sejuani? Because I'm not a jungler. I was like Diamond 4 at the time, wasn't very good. And then he banned my Sejuani.
He did.
It was very rude of him. But now, SK are pulling Heretics towards a fight as they've started up the Dragon, the Baron, in fact. Irrelevant has TP, no Mega Gnar built up on him. There's the teleport in. Magnus going onto the backline, and again! Zwyroo goes down. Jankos second to follow, all out from Wunder, but immediately has to dash away from Rahel, who is not giving up the chase quite yet. Requiem comes down, doesn't find anyone. Isma does fall in the end to Flakked, but Flakked the last man standing, as SK have lost their jungler, but not much else.
A nice play there from Flakked. By getting the kill onto the jungler, you'd think that maybe SK can't do the Baron, but they said, no, we don't need him. We'll be able to secure this. Great team play from SK overall. The fight gets divided onto 2 fronts, and they're able to navigate it beautifully. Zwyroo makes an ambitious play to start off the fight. He dives in, and he fully commits onto Nisqy. And you're thinking, oh, Nisqy in a bit of an awkward spot here. Could be dangerous for him. But then Isma turns it around with a really nice ulti in exchange back.
Yeah.
SK play the fight beautifully. They secure themselves the Baron. They have a very healthy gold lead now. And we get a look at the fight. Notice the focus onto Nisqy on the left-hand side. And engage as well from Luon. I didn't catch that in the live fight. Sets up for Rahel. But this is what I'm saying, where the fight kind of gets divided. The bottom left and the top right. Good damage on the Rahel thanks to the Requiem. But then he's working with his support to take down Wunder. Flakked with some nice play to be able to at least get a kill back. But it's just been fights going in favor of SK pretty much since the start of this game.
Yeah, and a 9,000 gold lead for them now as well. They have the Baron for the next 2 minutes. They'll get their 3rd dragon of the game. Nisqy only just short of putting a hat on his head with the Rabadon's death cap. 3 items for Rahel as well with the Immortal Shield Bow complete. Flakked he's almost there. He's got the Ginsus and the static, but Zwyroo only has an item and a half. Jankos still short of his 2nd. In terms of damage, SK far the better of the 2 teams. Glacial Prison hitting in. Ultra Shock Laser coming down, and Jankos falling once again. The TP invested by Nisqy as they look for Zwyroo, who will just walk his way away, waddle back towards the safety of that tower.
So now they'll just look to play through 2 lanes. They've abandoned bot for the time being. They'll push through mid, push through top, gain control over the top side jungle. There are 2 tier 2 towers for them to siege onto. And then they're also at Soul Point. Dragon still 4 minutes away. A minute and a half left on the Baron means that they should be able to, at the very least, get 1 of these towers. I imagine they'll be able to get 2. The wave clear from Team Heretics really isn't here right now. Look, they're standing in front of the tower to make sure that they don't have access to the wave, and SK just making their way into the base.
FLICKR trying to get anything he can in a side lane, looking for one of those objective bounties, can't secure it. Trymbi dredge lines away. Ultra Shock Laser tags the back of him. Inhibitor in the mid lane will go down, and often when you have double AD carries, you think about the range that you have as a team, but against an Azir, it's just not that powerful. Azir's soldiers can just harass you, as you see Jankos trying to step forward to take away the cannon. Can't get there yet. Hook lands, but only onto Isma. Trymbi looking for a little bit more. Aftershock now burnt on him. The engage from Luon as Trimby's locked up. They dive in. Is it enough? I'm not sure it is. SK basically still full HP. The Requiem comes down as one will fall. Will it be more? It's two. SK lose two in the fight, but they take down four. Isma has Warmog, so does Luon, and Nisqy still has a very healthy HP bar.
The damage has been done. 25 minutes in, they're looking to end this game. Absolute domination from SK as they look to lock a spot in playoffs.
A promising early start for Heretics, but it all went pear-shaped. SK have been the dark horse so far of Summer and continue to be so. They will lock their spot in playoffs alongside Fnatic and BDS.
I mean, two convincing games from our 4-1 team so far today. And I just love the aggression. In game one, the compliments about BDS were clean macro. They played the map well, good objectives. SK just played fights well. They played around by just forcing these 5v5s. Individually, they were stepping up. Nisqy with his great plays, Luon with great engages. Overall, just great stuff. Excited to see SK and BDS match up again. Hopefully we get to see that opportunity in playoffs, so they will both be going. You can, of course, vote for your Gear player of the game at LEC on X, Irrelevant, Nisqy, or Rahel. Impressive stuff from SK.
It really was. That's it from us for now. We'll be right back after the break with Nisqy on the Analyst desk.
Done?
Done.
There we go.
Right?
Break.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Red Bull gives you wings.